What's up, guys?
What's up? What's up, everybody?
Good morning. It's
Good
another
morning, yes.
Thursday.
A
How are you?
beautiful day here in California. I
Yes.
hope it's a beautiful day wherever you are watching from.
Right.
Say hi. Let us know where you're watching from. And join our conversation about...
Yes, we had an interesting conversation the other day with a group of leaders.
We always have
we are
interesting conversation.
No, but with a
In
group of leaders with
Yes.
this this organization we're a part of, ministry we're a part of, and talking about being external and internal processors, and obviously what value is in that and all that stuff. So we want to get into that today, but first of all, I hope today that you are filled with hope.
Yeah.
Even if you find yourself in challenging situations or circumstances that are opposite to the abundance of Father God, to the potential that you carry and all the goodness that you have, may hope be stirred. May that be stirred up inside of you today, so that you can continue to walk and see the reality of the kingdom of Father God's heart and love for you come about into reality, into your life. But anyway,
to that.
Cheers,
Yes,
babe.
cheers, babe.
I love you. You're amazing.
Thank you. You are too.
Always fun to sit here, and here's to you guys. You are also awesome.
So guess, first of all.
Hold on. I wasn't going to go there yet. Little side track story.
Side story.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So this morning I had to go to the retinal specialist. So and they dilated my pupils, so my eyes are like.
He's like kind of staring in the gaze. There's nothing hovering above here, but his pupils are big and he can't.
I cannot focus on anything. So Thanksgiving. Of last year, which when's Thanksgiving? November,
yes.
The Thanksgiving Day is when I actually,
Thursday.
Driving that night, I realized, whoa, something's up.
Yeah.
Found out there was some swelling behind my one retina, which has caused the blurry vision in the one eye, the inability to focus properly, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But... So it's been pretty
a
long
journey. I mean, it's been a journey so much that every now and then I'm like, oh shoot, I should check. How are you doing, babe? Because it's like we just live life, right?
You get
used to it.
I get used to it, but so I play soccer, and sometimes I miss contact with the ball, or my shot or header or whatever is off a little bit because my judgment of distance is off because the one eye doesn't focus properly. But that's not a good excuse. I still need to own and finish. But anyway, good news is it's been going down.
Yeah.
Which one of my visits a couple months ago, it hadn't changed a ton, and they were like, "Oh man, we wish this would shift," but it has shifted a lot more. It's still there, still blurry, but it's getting a lot better. So
a lot better.
Good news.
Yes.
Anyway, go ahead. Lead us off, babe.
So I was going to say guess on the title of our thing, internal processor or external processor. You may know what you are. You may not know what you are. You will find out today, I'm sure. But who would you think of us is the external processor
definitely
and the internal processor? I think all the time, and I don't speak, and I think before I speak, and all those things.
Right.
I'm the external processor.
Yeah.
I process external. Okay, so my first thing, does that mean you are all the time talkative? That doesn't necessarily mean
no,
that.
So
it has to do with the way you process things, correct? Which is through talking. So you are going to be talking a lot.
No. You're like, so if you're an external process, you process things through talking. So you're using the same word to explain it.
No, but...
So it should be pretty clear, of course. If you've listened to any of our things, you probably can say, Esther's definitely the external processor. I am the internal processor for sure.
Yeah.
We got in this conversation with the leaders the other day, and they're asking me, of course, personalities, how does that tie in?
Yeah.
And I was like, there are some personalities that are super talkative and some that are not. But I had to go and do a little research on with internal and external processing. How does that come into play? And that actually, what I found is tied more to your thinking style, not your personality style.
Okay.
And so that's why you have some of the more outgoing personality styles, maybe a little more extrovert, are not necessarily external processors, because it has to do with the way you think.
That is super interesting. Maybe I'm gonna find a different thing about myself that I thought I was.
And the way you deal with information. So you are an external processor.
Yeah.
So to learn or to process information, you talk to understand what you are thinking about.
Yeah. So it's not that I don't think. I actually think a lot.
Of course, everybody thinks.
But I'm saying I can get lost sometimes in my thoughts. Like I can start a certain thought and then I'm like, So it's not necessarily that I don't think. You get me. You get my drift.
Okay. Yes.
But I process as I hear myself talk. I'm finding out things, and I'm like,
right. That's how things begin to stick.
Yes, and I figure things out.
So if you would line it up with personality, you would say, definitely the advancer, the I personality style would be the external processor for sure. But that doesn't necessarily mean that is so, because it's thinking style.
But it's thinking style, so you could have a I personality that is an
internal
processor.
Right.
That I was going to say.
So with the disc personality, that's a lot how you like to show up to the world externally, how you like to deal with situations and kind of show up outwardly. So for an advancer, one who communicates experiences, motivates, is optimistic, has ideas, is an encourager, all that stuff. That's how you like to operate. That's how you like to approach situations. But that's not how you think or deal with information necessarily. So,
oh, okay, that's new. I didn't know that.
Right.
Okay.
So anyway, in light of that, so.
You are an internal.
I'm an internal processor, which lines up with my personality style,
right?
As well, but that's not necessarily because of my personality style. So you'll have people that are more analytical and more introvert, but they will still need to talk out the process of what they're learning in order for that information to stick and become real to them. Because it has to do with your thinking style.
So every time I want to talk, that's good for you, because that's still then gonna stick for you, babe. No. I'm just.
So when I'm trying to figure out and deal with information, I'm trying to process internally and think and figure out what I believe, how that stuff comes into place, and you want to talk and fill up my headspace.
See, but then, so we've been on this thing because he's like, not that he doesn't like to talk to me, but often we talk about everything, but certain things are deeper things, meaning.
So I can't read. Is anyone saying if they're external or internal process?
Miranda.
So if you're watching,
she's just laughing at us.
are you an external internal processor?
Yes,
so
Miranda, tell us.
When you're thinking about something, do you need to talk about it in order to work through that information and decide what you actually think? So with an external processor, as they're talking and they're saying things, it doesn't mean they actually believe it. And so if an internal processor is listening to an external processor, what can happen is, I could perceive that everything you're saying, you're believing as fact and not agree with that.
Yeah.
But for you, you're just saying everything that's coming.
Just coming.
And as you talk, you're getting clear. You're then defining what you actually think about that. Because again, it's I'm taking this information. How am I going to deal with this information? Well, for me to come to a conclusion, not me, you, talk about it so that then you come to a conclusion and you throw some of the ideas out, you hold on to some of the ideas, and you know what you think. Whereas an internal processor who I'm thinking through everything and like, this is what I come to a conclusion before I begin to talk about it. As I hear you talk, I can say, well, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with this. I agree with that, whatever.
Yeah.
But for you, you're just putting out all the information.
Yeah. So would it be correct that when you talk, you already, it's more of something that you
I have come to a conclusion.
That you've come to a conclusion.
Yeah.
So yours is more conclusion based, where mine is I'm still getting to that conclusion. And I'm getting there by, you know.
But then the reverse side of that is that an external processor, when information is given to an internal processor, you can, the external can put a lot of pressure on and say, hey, we want to hear from you. Give us your conclusion, talk. And they're saying, an internal processor is saying, hey, I need time to put my thoughts in order. Like, give me time to process this information. I need to think through it to actually learn what it is I'm looking at, the information I'm gathering. I need to put it in its place. And so you can have that, which you find some of the similar things in personality, but that, again, it's two different, they can go hand in hand, but it's not a hard, fast rule that it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So.
And what is it with, I like to externally process with people, which of course
So personality style, right.
Yeah, my personality.
So let's just stop here first. You're awesome and amazing. You say, well, why do we talk about internal, external processor? Well, again, it's fun for us to talk about our differences.
Yeah.
But we also want to champion you in your style and continue to build your confidence in your self-worth and in your value, in your style of personality, in your style of identity, in your thinking style, the way you process information, all that good stuff, in your area of influence, whatever that is. We want to champion you in your style to build your confidence, to say, this is who I am. I can show up powerfully knowing, there's not a bunch wrong with me.
Right.
But there is so much right with you. So.
Yes, there is. I mean, and these things can be gifts to you to understand yourself and to really be confident in who you are and not trying to always be somebody you're not.
Yeah.
Because you think it's better or whatever.
And the craziest thing in the world is the two greatest fears of people are I'm not enough or I'm not accepted, right? I'm not good enough, I'm not enough, I'm not accepted. Mm-hmm. Or, and, for who you are. Yeah. And then, so society, everything, circumstances tries to train us how wrong we are, how broken we are. But if you go back to the very beginning of mankind, where Adam and Eve, were created in God's image, made a choice, and suddenly the lie that came to them was that we are not good enough anymore. Yeah. And that played out through humanity, where Father came and said, hey, I still want relationship with you guys, even though you made this choice. Like, just come back. Just change your thinking again, right? Repentance, change your thinking, come back. Continue to be my son and daughter, live in my image, and mankind had that lie running through that, we're not good enough, we're not acceptable to Father, we need to prove ourselves, we need to run away, we're rejected. So that's ingrained in humanity, and so what we want to do is push against that and say, no, actually, you are great, you're awesome, and all that's there.
Fully accepted, you are good enough, you matter, you have value by who you are. That is always, that personal value is always the basis for where we come from with personality, style, and your unique design of how you're wired, and therefore you don't have to feel less than somebody else, especially when you're so different. And that's what we love.
But then you have the
each other.
differences, and then everybody, we tend to either feel bad about ourselves or put somebody else down or put pressure on, because that kind of thread throughout humanity is I'm not good enough, I'm not acceptable, so therefore you're not good enough, and we push against each other. And so
right, and you're no longer really who you are because you're trying to change yourself, but then you're also trying to make the other not be their self. So it's like, I mean, in all kinds of relationships, right? So the polar opposites, or the opposites of things, it's just actually a beautiful thing. And if you can be confident in that, if you can understand that about yourself. So if you are an external processor, or if you are an internal processor, that is just the way you were created. And that's how and that is beautiful.
So then what you started to say is, you're an external processor, and then your personality style is the more the merrier, or people together. Is the best way to do it. Because
I was getting there, because we like to talk together, and so we get on these thoughts, and 2 hours later we had a 2-hour conversation because I was externally processing. And so he's like, I love you and all that, and I love talking to you, but we're not getting anything done because you keep wanting to external process with me. How about you use the voice memo app on your phone and you external process with the voice memo app? And I'm like, well, that's boring. I'm like, I'm not just talking to hear myself talk, but I also want a sounding board or because I want to come to a conclusion, and I'm not going to come to a conclusion by just blah 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 myself.
Technically, as an external processor, you are, but as your advanced personality style, you're saying, but I want it to be with people.
Because
I want people to hear me, because you actually don't want me to talk.
That's not the truth.
You're okay if I don't talk. You're okay if you're the one who gets to do the talking. But to the personality style that doesn't care as much doing it with people and just needs to process externally, the voice memo app works really good for them. It's not as motivating to you in your personality style. So the combination for me is I'm an internal processor. So talking about it doesn't let me think. And so I never get any processing done in those moments. But secondly, my personality style is task focused. I like to do things. I like to accomplish things. And I really don't like to talk. And so to talk and to listen,
how do we get along?
In my personality style doesn't equal success. For the advancers, like, you are built to advance ideas, to advance feelings, to encourage, to show ideas. And so success for you is, the more I advance and communicate and talk and whatever, the more, that's super successful. And so we have these conversations, 2 hours. She's like, I'm processing, I'm advancing ideas, I'm with somebody. I'm like, I'm not getting any tasks done. I can't think, I'm not processing.
Great, I feel like I can do all the things in the world. And he's like, no.
No, I need to go and process my thoughts of what we were talking about. But both styles are amazing, and just recognizing, hey, this is the way I process information, part of my thinking style, and then this is my personality style, and this is how I show up with my thinking style and with all my good things there. So,
but it can be challenging sometimes, because on things that matter, when we have conversations also with other people, then I'm always like, well, but I know what you are thinking is good, so I want you to externally process what you're thinking, because it's so good always what comes out of your mouth when it does come out of your mouth. But he's always like, I'm good. I'm in here. I'm good. I don't need to, right? And so there's been times where I'm like, oh man, why can't you just like
So
talk about what you're thinking?
she'll
what
jump off
your
the deep end and
convictions are,
start
you
and be
know?
like, so what about this? And then, hey Jason, why don't you take it over and say what I'm thinking and what you're thinking? And I'm like, I'm still putting the pieces in place and I'm not ready to talk until I have it figured out. And you're committing us to some sort of stream or thought. And
but
I need to
often
finish it.
too, when I'm talking to you, when I genuinely want to know what he is thinking about what we're talking about. And so I will ask you, so what are your thoughts? What are you thinking? But if it's not what I'm thinking,
so remember,
then I'm like,
remember earlier.
I'm looking for.
Remember earlier when it was about bouncing things off and hearing the other point of view, but it isn't actually, because if it's opposed to what if it's different than what she's thinking, she doesn't want to hear it.
No, I do really want to hear it, and I think it's actually good when you don't see certain things the same way, because it forces you to look at your own stuff and my
right.
You know.
But again, this is through developing your thought or processing information, and so in that again, your external processing is figuring out these pieces, how am I putting them in place for me? And then you're okay discussing later, like, this is my thought. Yeah. You have a different thought. That's fine. But through the process, and so when I was looking at that, the external processors don't want a solution or a fix in the middle of their processing, because they're just putting out a bunch of pieces. And so we can put that in a box and say, yeah, you know, I just wanted to communicate what you want to fix. You know, that's a man trying to fix the woman or whatever. Yeah. But that happens with an external processor as well. So it's not just like the male trying to be a problem solver and the female is communicating it, but an external processor you can find is just laying out the pieces as they work through to come to a conclusion that they can then discuss. But an internal processor will say, hey, I can fix this. You know, you're asking this question, you're putting that out. This is the answer, and you're saying, whoa, I don't actually want an answer because I'm still laying out my pieces and figuring out what I connect to. Yeah. And so that's where it's not that you're opposed to a different point of view, but you're trying to put your pieces in place to develop it, and then you're ready to discuss it. But you discuss it to get to the discussion where I think it, because at
the end of the day, I still want to come up with the idea or the solution or the.
Well, I think we not wired to have our own opinion, our own conviction. Like we have to live by our own understanding of. Yeah. So it not that it can't be shaped by someone else or whatever, but you live by what you have decided. Yeah. Or the thoughts you allow, or all that.
But then even I'm thinking about, like, you know, just daily practices or whatever, when you're like in contact with people, like texting or emailing, or you when somebody comes to you with a question, you like to think about it and think it through. Maybe write it down and then give a answer. Where I'm like more, I love voice, like. Where am I going with this?
I don't know.
He's looking at me.
I'm out here on the boat and I'm not sure what's happening.
Your eyes are like, when I'm like, no, you went to the retinal specialist.
Yeah, I went to the retinal specialist.
But I found with external processors. You know, it is good to have those things of like voice memo or voice texting or whatever you call that. I'm trying to find the names for it. You know, there's different ways of communicating with people because you communicate better that way. When I have, even sometimes when I'm writing a text, it can take me a long time because I'm trying to the thoughts that I have in my head. Right,
personality style, you would rather communicate.
Okay, so it has to do with your personality style.
Right, I mean, it's all tied together, but you know, it's not all mesh. It doesn't
Yeah.
all mesh exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it's not.
I was saying you
all
could
the
make
same.
your life easier, or for both ways. You know, both.
Yeah. Well, with your personality style, you're energized and you generate well in communication, in
Yeah.
verbal communication, in talking,
Right.
and not so well in details and having to read information and stuff like that. Like you're engaged in the experience, watching, hearing, communicating.
Yeah.
That works great for advancers and some other personality styles. Where my style is more like I'd rather read or write, not have to verbally communicate, because I'm more energized by getting the facts and details in place and less by verbal communication. And so, you know, again, it's all pieces of this unique, great person that Father has made here. And you can have impact and, you know, bring the kingdom in so many different ways. And that's incredible. But with your personality style, you're looking to.
I did have an idea for our 2-hour-long conversations that we can't have sometimes. Like maybe I should just Marco Polo you, and then when you have time, you can listen to me.
So.
Sorry.
You can Marco Polo me. I'll hit play and walk away.
Because it's gonna be long Marco Polo.
And then after you listen to yourself and got your thoughts in order, then come and send me a 15-second one. So
anyway.
But in my personality style and thinking style, that combination, for me to sit and watch a video of someone or listen to someone talk, like I always try to watch something online or whatever and speed it up, because communication. If the last couple of weeks I had some things I'm messing around with on the website, trying to get some you know products online so that we can continue to serve you guys better, whoever's like wants to dive into their greatness and stuff and release that to them. And so I'm trying to figure out the technical aspect of even just getting things on Shopify. Like I'm not trained in that, but I can handle figuring some of those things out. So I'm learning and messing around in the details. Well, I forget even to, like, any style of communication, even to write a Facebook post or to talk like that goes completely out of the window for me, because I'm looking at tasks. Let's get a task done. And if it doesn't involve a person, then I'm not necessarily looking to communicate. Although I value people and I value you guys. You're amazing. But I have to consciously say, oh, wait a second. Like I better communicate to someone, because my natural way of generating is information systems, processes, boom. Where to you, it's like we have a question on something. It would be easy to jump on Google. She's like, let me just call and ask. Like, let me talk. Let me communicate.
Why? So, like, I just, if there is a person that knows something, let's ask them. Or, you know, they have the answer. I mean, why go and research it yourself and do all that stuff? Like, hello.
And that's where personality style comes into play with your thinking style. So internal processor, my first approach to any project is let me go gather some research, some information. Let me do that as I process through. And you would say, hey, let's communicate. But
I have found too that in my journey of life, I always want to process with people, right? So I'm like, why is everybody just kind of like in their hole and nobody's reaching out and stuff? And I'm like, people, I need to process. Let's get on a call and let's chat and talk about these things that matter, right? But that's who I am, and I have that need, but somebody else, that's not how they process. That's not what their need is. So finding that out about yourself and about others is a huge help.
So it's like, if you need to process information, are they external or not? And then personality style, that's the other side. Like, do they are they motivated, energized by coming to communicate? Where some of you are, and then it's like, well, no one's reaching out because I love to talk and whatever. But the other personality style is not necessarily, they don't generate in that or energize. Doesn't mean they don't care about you, but that's not their go-to thing. It's not like they wake up I don't wake up and say, hey, how can I talk to everybody?
Yeah.
Like, that's not, okay, I need to get something done, and it involves talking. I want to empower you. I want to see the world changed by these, like, empowered kingdom people who are fully being themselves, and the greatness that Father put in them, put in you. Well, yes, let me communicate for that result.
Right.
But I don't wake up and say, well, you know, how can I communicate today? Where some of you who are awesome like that wake up and it's like, hey, man, who can I communicate with?
Who am I going to communicate with today?
So hopefully that helps you bring some clarity to yourself and to the people around you. Builds confidence in who you are when, you know, you're married to a different thinking style, processing style. You have people around you in the team that are different. How do I move that forward? You can look up some tips, you know. One of the tips I did find for the external processor is use a voice app.
We'll use a voice app. I'm gonna try it.
So again, you know, being together will be your motivation.
Yeah, right.
But maybe just getting some thoughts in order that may help you. Yeah. And for your internal processors, letting people know, hey, I need some time to think through. And you know, I'm not dumb. I'm thinking it out. So
yes.
I hope you understand you're amazing.
If you have any questions or thoughts about that, or you know, if that's helped you in any way, or let us know. Are you external? Are you internal? Do you like to think about things? There you have it. Happy Thursday. Yes.
Have a great end of your week and an awesome weekend.
Yes.
You're amazing.
Yes, you are. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.